Here there are two questions from your textbook. We will solve in the first box question 1 and in the second box question 2 to see the difference between simple interest and compound interest. So in question 1, you invest £1,800. So you go to the bank and you give them £1,800 at 6% per annum, or per year we said, for 5 years. So you give them those money and every year they give you 6% of them back, or 6% interest. So after the first year, the interest is 6% of 1,800. So it's 6% of 1,800, which will give you £108. This is just the interest. This is what banks gives you, like as a gift, because you keep the money with them. And because it's simple interest, every year it is the same. So the question says that you invested for 5 years. So every year you get the same for 5 years. So you get 108 times 5. Every year they give you 6% of the same. So it's 540. This is a simple interest. This is called a simple interest. This is what the interest, this is what the bank pays you because you keep the money with them. How much money you have actually 1,800 plus 540, but the question doesn't ask this. The question asks only about the interest. And now in question 2, you invest for 4 years. You invest for 4 years at 3% per year, but compound interest. This means that this means that at the beginning, to start with, $450 that you put in the bank. Okay, so after 1 year, they give you 3%. So the interest is 3% of 450, which is 13.5. This is the interest. But after 1 year, you have in the bank 450 plus 13.5, so you get 463.5. Another way to do the same, which is preferable in the case of compound interest, is that you think that after 1 year you have 103% of 450. Right? Because you had 100% and the bank gives you 3%, so you end up with 103%. So practically you have 103 over 100, 103% of 450. And if you use your calculator, you see that it will give you the same 463.5. Why is this calculation easier? Because after 1 more year, so after 2 years, you have 463 0.5 now in the bank, and the bank gives you again 3%. So you need to multiply again by 103 over 100, which is practically 1.03. That's why we call this number multiplier. Yeah, and if you do this calculation, it will give you, you can take your calculator to do it. Now, if I'm correct, then I get 477.405. Now, after one more year, so after 3 years in total, you get 477.405 times, it gives you again 3%, so it's again times 1.03, so you get 491.73. There are more decimals there, but of course I can't go more than cents. Okay, and now last one is that after one more year, so after 4 years, what the question asks, you get 491.73 times, it gives you 3%, so you multiply again with 1.03, and you end up with 506.49, I think. Yeah? So see how you started with 450 and your interest is not every year the same, and you end up with 506. The total interest is what the bank gives you is 506.49, take away 450. Now see how we can make all these calculations in the case of the compound interest simpler. If we do in the first year, so compound interest, question number 2, all in one, faster. So you start with 450. After 1 year, you end up with 450 times 1.3. This is at the end of first year. Now after 1 more year, so you start with 450 times 1.03, so after 1 more year you multiply by 1.03 again. So at the end of the second year is 450 times 1.03 squared. At the end of the third year, 1 more year, 3 more percent is times 1.03, so you get 1.03 cubed at the end of the third year. And at the end of the fourth year, you multiply again by 1.03, so this is after the fourth year. If you put this in your calculator, see that you have a button that looks like this for 1.03 to the power of 4, yeah? You should get the same amount as before. Okay, so you should get the same amount as before, but it's done in a shorter way.